Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about the silliness when people talk about the big three and they act like being weak at them, and someone saying, well, I bodybuild and I just focus on hypertrophy, that's why I'm weak at these lifts. No, it means you actually are probably just not as big as you think you are. And when you say that, people get upset. They're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, because maybe some of the muscles involved, you haven't actually built them. Because you would be good at them. If every muscle in your body, and this is a point I will make to the aesthetics chasing guys, if every muscle in your body were actually well developed, you could come train the squat, bench, and deadlift for a few weeks, and you would probably have, unless you're carrying a lot of fat to put you in the wrong weight class, you would have an advanced to elite squat, bench, and deadlift. You just would. And we've seen it plenty of times with bodybuilders. Okay? And usually guys go, well, my deadlift is terrible. I've spent all this time training and I'm big and I only deadlift, 450. Like, well, maybe you're not that big. Maybe you spend all your time training the show muscles you see in the mirror. You probably don't have glutes, hamstrings. You might not even have a back. Because what you will invariably find is that people who have no weak links don't have weak lifts. People who are muscularly balanced are strong at pretty much any lift that doesn't have a huge skill component or something that's limited their range of motion. Meaning, okay, maybe your clean and jerk or your snatch isn't particularly good, but squat, bench, and deadlift are low skill lifts. Conventional deadlift is a low skill lift. Right? Benching, walking over and benching and just pausing is a low skill lift. It really is. All right? So if you're big, you're going to have big lifts. And that's what I'm suggesting to people who say, well, I did this or that, I'm not strong at it, but it's like, no, you just have weak links all through your body. And maybe that's something for people to think about, because all the classic guys, all the classic bodybuilders were strong. And it's because they trained everything. And I think this is a problem that people run into when they focus too much on too much isolation and not enough big lifts. Say, well, I don't need to do these big, but it's like then you have weak muscles. Now, my point would hold true if a person took the time to really work every single muscle with smaller movements and machines and isolation stuff. They would still be strong at these things. And that's my point. But the point is they're not actually doing that. And I've seen enough of that in real life when I've gone to events. Some of these influencers who look kind of good on camera, when you see them in person, you realize they're really not that thick. So, of course they don't bench 350. Of course they don't deadlift 550, 600 pounds. Because they're not big. They've got some nice round shoulders and big arms, and they get real lean. But a lot of times even their upper body, when you see them, they're not really big. They just look big on camera. Right? Guys who are carrying real muscle are going to be strong at this stuff. And there's plenty of cases of guys out there who still have that aesthetic look. Okay? But because they actually have glutes and hamstrings and pecs and lats and all that stuff, what happens? They're strong as hell on the big lifts. They're strong as hell at it if they come over and try them. Granted, there can be a little bit of a learning curve, but I think that's one of the things for us to think about. All right? If we've got weaknesses in our strength, that usually tells us a lot about what muscles we have that are underdeveloped. Okay? And I think there's something to be said for striving for excellence, of saying, hey, if I'm going to lift and I'm going to take this as a serious part of my life, I might as well just get big and strong everywhere. It would behoove me to do so. But to me, it's always strange that people have this idea. And it's such a modern idea that you can really separate size and strength. Again, I think that has to do with camera angles, proportions, the way drugs work, sight enhancement. Okay? Right? The illusion of muscle. Right? The illusion of muscle. but it's because of fakery. If the people were really and truly well developed with real muscle tissue, they're going to be strong. But I think some of the other stuff, people forget how prevalent site enhancement is. They're how prevalent implants are. Again, I don't think the average person who's only mildly involved in fitness realizes how big of a deal these things are. Okay? I don't think they realize it. They also don't realize a lot of times the people that they're perceiving as massive are actually really short. So it's proportion. They proportionately look big. But you'd be surprised how they look compared to other people. And that all gets blown out of the water when they stand next to someone who's really tall. And I've seen that happen before too. But that's kind of a separate topic. But the point is, size does raise your strength ceiling. Okay? And if you are big, you will be strong. And I think there's that myth of the weak bodybuilder. No, a really big, jacked bodybuilder is going to be strong. Again, remember Ronnie Coleman was deadlifting 800 pounds for reps. Okay? And that's what you would expect from a guy that big. That is what you would expect. It's not even ridiculous for his size. Like no one who's reasonable who understands this would look at that and go, well, that's crazy strong. No, it's not crazy strong for his size. It's literally what you would expect. I would expect any IFBB pro at the size they're carrying to be able to deadlift 800 pounds without really training to lift. Unless they've got some glaring deficiency in their muscle mass somewhere in the posterior end. Okay? Yeah, size will always raise your strength ceiling. And the exceptions to the rule are usually due to some weird anatomical reasons. They're outliers. They're usually outliers. And they're rare. Because what you really find, again, when they've looked at studies on elite lifters, they know how strong you are from a DEXA scan when they're in that category. Okay? Because these are people who actually have maximized their neural drive, and so they can assume that anyone who's maxed their neural drive is going to produce a certain number based upon their lean mass and levers on a DEXA scan. And yes, it can be accurately predicted with a scary degree of accuracy, and it has been done in studies. All right? All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.